Mariners' roommates, the San Diego Padres, went out and made one of the biggest trades of the offseason, acquiring Dylan Cease from the White Sox. We'll talk a little bit about that trade, as well as if the Mariners could have made that trade, and what it would look like if the Mariners had traded Wu or Miller at this point. We're then going to talk about some more of the positional battles in camp, because obviously Dom Canzone's looked really good, Brian Anderson's looked pretty good, and the third base spot as a whole is very, very interesting. And finally, we're going to talk about the spring breakout roster for the Seattle Mariners. We might make a lineup depending on how much time we've got left, and we'll go from there. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 69 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network, the Joe and Colton episode of the Hit It Here podcast. That's right. There's never been a Mariner to wear the number 69. So you know what? We're wearing the number 69. I'm here with Joe. Joe, I need a breath mint.
I didn't expect to be put on the spot like that at the end there. I would have assumed you would have come prepared for the 69th episode of the Hit It Here podcast. We're gonna have to get custom jerseys now, just so you're aware. Yep. It's gonna have to happen. But Dylan Cease to the White Sox he's already on the White Sox. He was on the White Sox. Dylan Cease to the Padres. I didn't really expect it. It was rumblings of, are the Yankees going to get involved because Garrett Cole's going to be out 1 to 2 months? And it's like, where has this kind of developed from? And I feel like talks had cooled down from Dylan Cease for a long time, because Pedro Grifol was like, he's our opening day starter until, we know. And then yesterday, quote was like, oh, I don't know. So it's like, oh, things are going down. And the Padres, AJ Preller swoops in with a pretty hefty package. I know that the Padres are probably still in a win now kind of mode, but in 2 to 3 years, this package could look pretty hefty on the opposite end. And, if I'm a Padres fan and I'm thinking back to the last time they traded with the White Sox, I would be willing to bet that the James Shields, Fernando Tatis Jr. trade is still lingering in their mind. But a quick word from BetOnline. With the Soul Series right around the corner and opening day for the rest of the teams around baseball shortly after, you need to get in your bets for the win-loss projections soon. And the best place to do that is BetOnline. So whether or not you're betting under on the Yankees after the Garrett Cole injury, BetOnline is your place to do it. And if you're not super interested in betting baseball right now, basketball is still available to you, and BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all the basketball wagering needs, including pro and even college hoops. Even though March Madness is ongoing and we're close to wrapping that up, the NBA is still there and it's leading into the playoffs. And with up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite teams in the NBA's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime for your desktop or your mobile devices, and head to BetOnline today to become part of the team, and remember to use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, for your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Now, I don't think there are any crazy high-level prospects like Tatis going back to the White Sox in this trade, but you're giving up 3 guys in the top 10 from the Padres just to acquire Dylan Cease, along with a pretty steady major league reliever. Those 3 prospects are Drew Thorpe, their number 5, Samuel Zavala, their number 7, and then Jairo Iriarte, their number 8. So 2 pitchers in the top 10, both could have been factors into the 2024 Padres rotation. Well, now they're going to get a chance to kind of show their stuff with the Chicago White Sox. Colton, I know you're typically low on Dylan Cease. What are your thoughts overall on this trade?
This was a terrible trade. Next question. The San Diego Padres are still worse than they were last year. The teams around them have gotten better. The Padres are still worse. You lost Soto. Now you go get Cease, but you also lost Blake Snell, Seth Lugo, and Michael Wacha. Michael King, of course, is on that team now. So it goes Darvish, probably Cease, then Musgrove, and then King, and then whoever you want to throw in that number 5 spot. Who do they have right there? Matt Waldron?
Waldrop with a P, I think.
Matt Waldrop?
Yeah.
That guy. And so I think that this team is I just don't understand. Obviously they didn't want to go out and spend a ton of money. So that's why they didn't go get Blake Snell. I think it's very interesting to see what happens with the Blake Snell sweepstakes now. He's got to be a Yankee, especially after hearing what's going on with Garrett Cole. I think that Snell is basically going to go to the Yankees at this point, because the Yankees missed out on Cease. Allegedly, they had made a new offer for Cease that still did not reach what the White Sox wanted. I think the only thing that makes sense is for them to go out and get Snell now. As for this package, it's a lot to give up. 3 guys in your top 10, plus a major league reliever for 2 years of Dylan Cease, a guy who's been good in his career like once or twice. Yeah, I'm out on that. I think that if this was the asking price that the Mariners would have had to have paid, there's a reason why they never made this trade. I don't even know where this would have started because they got 2 pitching prospects back. The Mariners don't really have those guys in their top 10 right now. So after adding Wu or Miller, I don't think I'd be willing to give up 2 more guys in the top 10. Obviously, it's not a 1-to-1 for the Mariners. They don't have 2 guys in the top 10 starting pitchers anyway that would really fit there. So I don't even know where to begin with this trade. In my opinion, this is a huge overpay by the San Diego Padres, and in a couple of years, this will come back and bite them.
It's definitely looking like Wu or Miller would replace Thorpe and Iriarte in this trade. And you could even go like, say like the Santos trade doesn't happen. You throw in like Wu or Miller with Prelander and then like another guy, like not even in the, I don't even think like a prospect type guy, like a 4th outfielder type. Like you just say you do Wu, Miller, Prelander, and
Taylor
Zach
Trammell.
or like Zach Deloach. Just take the Santos trade, toss Wu or Miller on, and that's probably what would have netted you Dylan Cease if you're the Seattle Mariners. I'd probably still rather just keep, the young guys in the rotation, let them develop, see if we can get them to similar heights of Dylan Cease, where he at his peak was a Cy Young too. Do I think Wu or Miller have that in them? I'm not going to rule it out, but like I don't know if the peak is necessarily that high, but I'd rather the offseason with the trade with the White Sox this offseason for the Mariners play out how it did. But if a trade like this were to have gone down, I think there's a lot of different roster moves that would have kind of come into play afterwards. And some of these position battles that we've been witnessing in spring training might look a little different, but obviously those are just a bunch of hypotheticals. Right now on paper, it's a corner outfield spot or maybe even like the 4th outfielder spot that we're really trying to focus on. If it's a battle of like Cade Marlowe, Taylor Trammell, Dom Canzone, and Luke Raley, how those kind of 4 guys are fighting it out. And I feel like going into the spring training, the rankings there would have been probably Raley 1, Canzone 2, Trammell 3, Marlowe 4, maybe do Marlowe 3, Trammell 4, not really sure. But Canzone's he's looking nice. And then obviously third base has been probably the funniest spring training. I don't want to say competition, but Luis Urias is putting up one of the most hilarious springs of all time, I would say, for a Mariners player trying to make his name, like be like, hey, I'm here to play.
Yeah, I think that Urias and Brian Anderson have both looked really good. Now, for those of you that don't know, obviously I'm not in my normal digs here because I'm down in Peoria right now. As you can tell, look how sunny it is.
They can't see
It's
the
like
window. They can only see the blinds.
sick. All right, sounds good. Well, as you guys can tell, I'm not in my normal digs. I'm in a hotel in Peoria. By the way, don't stay in the La Quinta. I got to give a shout out to Dustin and Holly. Thank you guys for meeting me and buying me a beer the other day. Or I'm sorry, an adult beverage. I would never, drink alcohol. And then also Evan. It's nice to meet you and your mom in Target, bro. Appreciate you guys. As it goes with Brian Anderson, he hit a home run in, I think, for when I'm recording this, yesterday's game at where was I?
Was it Oakland?
Oh my God, yes, Hohokam. I keep forgetting that Oakland has their own stadium.
Just
Of
for
all
whatever
teams,
reason.
Of all teams to have their own stadium, it's freaking Oakland. But yeah, so Brian Anderson hit a home run in Oakland the other day, and I think that he has honestly surprised me with how good he has looked up there at the plate. And then yeah, just Luis Urias. I don't know, man. He even flew out in Oakland at the game in Oakland, Hohokam. He flew out to like the warning track and it looked so effortless. And I was like, what in the world? And he's been playing the field too. So as of right now, I think that I do give it to Rojas and Urias. I think that the original plan of those two being the platoon, I think is what's going to happen. There's 46 players in camp right now, and 37 of them are on the 40-man.
I think so.
So we're getting pretty close here to like what the final rosters could look like. As for Canzone and Raley, I'm down, dude, to just have Canzone just be the everyday guy for a little while. Obviously, it's spring training. We talked about it last year. He probably shouldn't be the everyday guy. But if you want to play those guys more like 50-50 or even have one of them platoon with Mitch, although Mitch has looked really good too, to be fair. All of the Mariners starters, for the most part, have looked really good this spring. All of them. And I know that the record doesn't show it, but if you go look through the stat lines for like the everyday guys for the Mariners, a lot of them are playing really, really well. As for Canzone or Raley, I think both of them deserve to be on this roster, which sucks because I know that Taylor Trammell's gone if he doesn't make this roster. As for Cade Marlowe, I believe he still has options left, so you just send him down to AAA and call it a day. But Taylor Trammell will probably be gone, which again sucks. I love the guy. I wish nothing but the best for him. But Canzone and Raley have both made, at least Canzone, it has made a name for himself here in spring training. He definitely needs to make the roster. Obviously, Luke Raley's going to make the roster. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see over the next couple of weeks what happens with these two battles. I think it's going to be what we expected in terms of it being Canzone and Raley and then it being Urias and Rojas. But there still could be some surprises along the way.
That's the hard part. It was like Raley has just not looked great at the plate. And that's, did people go through struggles or slumps, whatever. Like JP started off the spring super slow, but now he's picked it back up. Maybe we see Raley kind of get into his stride towards the end of spring, and maybe Canzone slows down at that point. Like there's still time left. We're, about, I think, 2 weeks out from opening day. And for me, if I'm looking at specifically the outfield one with Canzone and Raley, just ride whoever's the hot hand. And I know it's like the obvious answer, but like, say you're starting Raley and 3 games in a row he's 0 for 9 with 4 or 5 Ks. Okay, he gets a day off and then Canzone's playing. Like I think it's honestly that simple from a roster construction standpoint. The harder one for me to evaluate is third base because of I don't want to say injury concern, because I think that's kind of out the door at this point with Urias playing in the field somewhat well. Like Mariner Muse was tweeting like just funny. It was like a timeline thread basically of like a bad throw to first that he like short arms it and Ty has to dig it out, and then maybe an inning later he makes a barehanded play across the diamond and it's just a stunning play, and then obviously he's hitting pretty well. So it's a tough situation. But I think it's ultimately a good situation that the Mariners are having to think about, okay, is it Urias? Is it Anderson? How does Samad Taylor fit into the conversation of like utility player role or whoever's going to make the roster there? So it's a good problem to have when you've got guys competing and they're showing out, as opposed to you're all having to pick from guys that are batting, below 100. It's not a bad thing. It's just, where does it end up at? And I'm chomping at the bit just to get to regular season, ultimately, because I just want to watch the team play more regularly. The spring training schedule has been kind of intermittent and I just want regular action. And I want to, not that the spring training doesn't matter, or like, the game, there's just the weight. It doesn't really matter that much.
It doesn't matter. Just say it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter, but it matters to me, man. It should matter to me. Whoever ends up making it, I know there will be some sort of pushback the moment they fall into a slump or they do something wrong, what have you. If it's Brian Anderson and say, like, I think Urias actually still has an option left. If you want to send Urias down into Tacoma, make sure that he is getting as many reps as he can at third to make sure he is comfortable defensively, I'd be okay with Anderson making it over Urias in that situation and let him see what he's got for a month. And then you're just kind of holding on to Urias in the minor leagues.
So, and that's something the Mariners could do. They could mitigate this whole thing with Urias and Anderson by just starting Urias down in AAA, saying they want him to get more reps over there at third base, just to make sure that his shoulder's okay. They can do that. And obviously, we all know that they'd be doing that because they want Anderson on the team to start the year. Let me run you through a pop quiz here, Joe. All right.
Oh, God.
Let's say Luke Raley is your starting left fielder and Josh Rojas is your starting third baseman on opening day. Okay.
Uh-huh.
What is your bench?
Sebi Savala is your backup catcher. Dominic Canzone is your first guy off the bench in a pinch hitting situation. Dylan Moore is probably there. And then it's the last utility guy of like Anderson or Urias. Going with your thing, it'd be Anderson. Right? So that's your bench. I don't think Samad Taylor will make it because the thing that sucks about Samad Taylor, yes, he is playing well. He's got that like electric feeling about him. He has options, which is valuable to the Mariners team later in the year if you have to make roster moves according to injuries or if guys are slumping. Whereas like Dylan Moore doesn't have options. I think Sam Haggerty is probably out as well, or he's down to his last one. I know it sucks, but I mean, I don't want to say it sucks. It's like there's nothing wrong with having Dylan Moore and either Urias or Anderson on your roster, but I don't know. That's my answer. I don't need to explain anymore. It was a pop quiz, not a short answer question.
So I think that I do agree with your bench there. I think that you probably do roll with or I'm sorry, Anderson over there at third base, Canzone in left field, Dylan Moore on this roster, because guys like Sam Haggerty and Samad Taylor, they have options. Haggerty's down to his last one. Obviously, Taylor still has options, and apparently Urias has an option. So you can send all of those guys down and start the year with Anderson over there, and Haggerty and Samad Taylor can both start the year in the minor leagues. And if, let's say, Anderson doesn't work out or Rojas gets hurt, you can bring up one of, Urias or Samad Taylor or somebody to fill in that spot. Is that putting your best team out there? I think so. Like right now, I think that Dylan Moore has not been anything special so far this spring training, but obviously he's the guy getting paid. He's the guy that's making a little bit of extra money. And Dylan Moore. You know that he can crush lefties in a spot that you need it if you need him to. He's nothing more than a bench guy. I don't want to see Dylan Moore get anything more than like a start a week, if that.
Yeah.
I think that this roster gives you the best chance to win right now while still mitigating any risk of injury in the future. You do lose Taylor Trammell in this scenario because you opted to have Canzone over Taylor Trammell, which I think that Taylor Trammell needs to go somewhere like Oakland and just play every day. He just needs, because he's been great in AAA, but he has not figured out at the major league level, and he needs the opportunity to go play every single day. And if that's somewhere like Oakland where there's really no risk, then I think that that's what you want to do with somebody like Taylor Trammell. I wish nothing but the best for the guy, but unfortunately, I don't think he stays on this roster. And I'm pretty sure that if you were to designate him for assignment, he probably gets claimed.
Yeah, it's just, that's unlike Haggerty, he is just out of options. We knew that last year, like when we sent him down, it's like, okay, that's the last one. Like this is kind of the last hurrah. And not to say unfortunate for him, but like other guys are just playing well in spring. That's just kind of like the way that it goes.
Yeah, I mean, the outfield's set. I mean, assuming that Luke Raley is your starting left fielder or Dom Canzone, the other one's on the bench, either way. And then you have Julio in center and Mitch in right with Dylan Moore's ability to play the outfield. Taylor Trammell just does not fit on this roster as a guy who is an outfielder only. Now, of course, there's still the opportunity that somebody gets hurt. That is always an opportunity. Obviously, always something that can happen. There's still what, 10-ish, 12-ish games left in spring, maybe 15. I don't know, but there's still time for something like that to happen. And I think that Taylor Trammell is going to run out of time with the Seattle Mariners, which does suck. But overall, it's pretty easy to predict this opening day roster, and I'm sure we'll do that in an episode of the Hit It Here podcast as we get a little bit closer. With that being said, the roster's pretty much already set. But I think that you're right on with the bench. Sebi Zavala is just going to be the de facto guy back there because obviously Blake Hunt already got optioned, but obviously Cal's going to be the everyday guy. First base, you have Luke Raley to back up if you need him to. Second base, Jorge Polanco's looked really good. JP's looked really good. Obviously, Julio's been great, and Mitch has looked really good. So, in terms of the offense, this team is all set up. We've talked enough about the bullpen. We don't need to talk about it anymore. We can talk a little bit about the guys that were sent out of the minor league camp earlier today, though. Obviously, Kirby Snead was one of them. Who else? Cole Young was sent down.
Tyler
Locklear. Cole Emerson?
Emerson played in today's game, so no.
Interesting.
I would assume it's just like the happenstance that like Young played in the game before. They're getting Emerson one more rep before the big hurrah of prospects, the spring breakout. And we've had our roster for a couple days now, going on a week as you guys are hearing this, but it's been nice to see some of these guys in the major league action. Obviously, Cole Young's played well in the game that against the Dodgers that were the day we're recording this. Laz hit a triple, driving in Ty Pete and Colt Emerson, I think, it wasn't Farmella, it was Emerson.
I'm so mad that I didn't go to that game, by the way, because so full disclosure here, I went to the Reds at Giants game in Scottsdale because it's the only stadium I had never been to, and so I finally crossed that off the list today.
And of course,
the Giants got destroyed, by the way. The final score was 19-11 or something like that.
My Lord.
Reds. Yeah, it was a crazy game. I didn't even get to start watching until the third inning for reasons. But of all the Mariners games to miss, this one hurt a little bit with Yamamoto on the mound for the Dodgers, Ohtani going 0 for 3 with 2 Ks.
Mitch
Laz hitting a triple.
close to a homer,
Was it?
basically.
I was gonna say, was it a homer?
It was close. Like, it was like at the wall. Let's, for, the sake of funness, we'll say it would have been a homer, but it probably
All
wouldn't
right,
have. Like, if he
sounds good.
doesn't catch it, it bounces off his head or his mitt into the stands.
Bounces off his head. Is he Jose
Jose
Canseco? I
Canseco,
almost
yes.
called him Jorge.
He was gonna have a
Um,
Canseco moment.
that's tough, bro. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this spring breakout, Joe, because again, we have this roster. What do you think this lineup's going to look like on Friday? Because today you guys are watching this, that's tomorrow. I'm going to be there, by the way. I'll definitely record something while I'm there. I've been bad. I haven't been to the backfields once,
Fake.
but I'm going on Thursday and I'm going on Friday.
So for a lineup, I'm gonna list all the players so that way we know who we're dealing with. Catchers are Harry Ford, Matt Scheffler. Infielders, we got Michael Arroyo, Ryan Bliss, Fallon Cellison, Colt Emerson, Tyler Locklear, Ty Pete, Luis Sweespel, Ben Williamson, Hogan Windish, and Cole Young. And then outfielders are Jonathan Clase, Johnny Firmello, Lazaro Montes, Spencer Packard, Alberto Rodriguez, and Aiden Smith. If I had to pick one prospect to lead off in the spring breakout game, it is your number one overall prospect. A good contact left-handed guy to set the table. It is Cole Young in the leadoff spot. Whether he's playing second or short, I don't really care, because whoever's playing, like, it depends on how they want it to look. But I'll put him at short, even though the majority of the innings I think he played mainly this spring was, I was gonna say at second, but he actually was JP's replacement and for a decent amount at short. I'll give him shortstop.
I would agree with that. If I'm putting a guy at number 2, I going Harry Ford here as your starting catcher at number 2, I think is fine. Although I think it'd be more fun if you went Colt Emerson. I'm going to have him playing third base.
You're going Colt Emerson, batting 2?
Batting 2, hitting third, or batting 2, playing third. Thoughts?
Okay. I'll roll with it.
What?
I'll roll with the punches. I think then a de facto number 3 is Harry Ford then. Catching behind
Yeah.
the dish, going 3. You can't have a bunch of lefties in a row, because we all know who the next guy in this lineup should be as far as a number 4 hitter, the prototypical 4 guy.
And that's Lazaro Montes, probably playing in right or left field. I'll just put him in right for the sake of it. Yeah, Laz, I mean, dude, I saw him in person for the first time the other day. He is a monster. He is huge. My goodness. So yeah, Laz got to be batting 4 there. I think I'll be interested to see who you have like the rest of the way, because so far we have Laz in right, we have Cole Young at short, we have Colt Emerson at third, and Harry Ford catching. So I'm interested to see who you got the rest of the way.
I think a guy that I probably could have put third, who people might be shouting at the rooftops I didn't put third, is playing first base, is Tyler Locklear. I think, getting Harry Ford as many ABs, that's more of what I was kind of aiming for. Like, your top 3 prospects being the top 3 in that order is kind of my vision. So if Locklear's batting third, I'll allow it. But here, he's playing first, batting 5th.
I think batting 6 through 9, nice, episode 69 of the Hit It Here podcast,
Nice.
Smile, is going to be interesting, because it's tough to say exactly where these guys are at. I'm going to go Ryan Bliss here at second base in the 6th hole. I think that he's got sneaky pop. He's a guy that can lengthen your lineup, and I think that some of these other guys are just going to make more sense towards the latter half of this lineup. So I'm going to go Ryan Bliss at second base, batting 6th.
Ryan Bliss was, I think, the most obvious next pick. I think, you did yourself well there. I'm in a tough position here, because do I go, how do I want to play this? Playing left, center, and then we've got DH. I'm going to cop out and go DH Hogan Windish.
Okay.
I'm going to go DH Hogan Windish, batting 7.
Okay. Would it be better for you if we switched Laz to DH?
No.
No, you want to go Windish?
I'd rather see Laz in the field.
Okay, that's fair. Now you put me in a tough spot. Batting 8th. I'm looking at the lineup here. So I have center and left, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with, there are 2 guys left that I think make sense here. I'm going to go with Johnny Firmello in center. I'm putting him in center.
Good man. Because batting 9th, your speed demon, who's basically another 1 in terms of a lot of the skill set. 1, he's not a great defensive center fielder, whereas Firmello, I think, is better. Jonathan Clase is batting ninth, playing left field.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
think
I
I think
completely
I
agree.
think you did well there with what I left you, because I didn't know, because obviously Class A is going to start. I think Class A is a guy that is makes sense to start. Whether or not he's sitting at the top of the order, I don't really think I don't want to say he hasn't earned it, because that's a bit crazy. But for a spring breakout, you're wanting Cole Young, Colt Emerson, like those guys at the top. Obviously, immediate reserves that did not make the starting lineup stand out. Celestin will get in there, and we will see his professional, air quotes, professional debut, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like
Finally.
it'll be like a televised thing. It should be a big deal. Ben Williamson will also get in there at third base at some point. I wouldn't be surprised Sweet Spell either getting a DH or maybe going over to first for Tyler Locklear later in the game. And then Aiden Smith, Spencer Packard, Alberto Rodriguez. Like Aiden Smith, one of the corners. I don't know who plays center the rest of the way if like Farmelo gets taken out. Like, is it Aiden Smith? Maybe like,
Or maybe you move Class A to center and put one of those guys in the corner.
yeah, give him more innings, I guess, because it's only a 7 inning game, right?
No, I think that the Mariners and Padres agreed to do a 9.
Oh, okay, that's right. There's 7 inning games unless the teams agree otherwise to do a nine. That's
Yeah.
great that it's a 9 inning game. That's honestly such a huge dub.
I think the only thing that I may change about our lineup, and if you disagree, let me know, is having Laz be the DH and then putting like Alberto Rodriguez in right field instead. Just
Mm-hmm.
for like if you're looking for more of like a another power guy to throw out there. Don't get me wrong, Hogan Windish can run into one, but I think that Rodriguez has more pure power than Hogan Windish does,
Okay.
and maybe that makes more sense. Obviously, that would change the lineup a little bit. Do you think that'd be like if they went with that? Would you be surprised?
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like Laz definitely fits into a DH spot just as well as any other guy on this roster. Probably the most out of anybody on the roster, realistically. So having him DH, I want to see what he's got in the field. If there's a play that he can make, whatever. He's got an insanely strong arm because duh, he's just a big human being. He can generate a lot of power, but he does have sneaky athleticism for his size. And I think, it's not necessarily like a full test, but if he's out there making some decent plays, not looking like a complete fool, that'll be a good sign of what he could develop into. But Colton, we have one more thing to decide. Who gets the ball on the mound for the Mariners?
This is a tough one, in my opinion, because there's some good names on here. So for lefties, we have Peyton Alford. He was in, I believe, Everett last year, had a really good year, but he has looked a little rough so far this spring. For righties, we have Juan Burgos,
Sure.
um, Ty Cummings here on episode 69. We have Logan Evans, Walter Ford, Brody Hopkins, Jeter Martinez, Michael Morales, and Troy Taylor. Of all those guys, I think you have to give it to Jeter Martinez. I think that he is a guy, especially was it the fall league that he looked really good in? Is that what it was?
I don't know if he pitched in the fall league. He just looked good all this Dominican Summer League last year. He was
Dominican Summer League. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what I'm thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
His debut last year with the Mariners organization was in that. Pitched great in it the entire time. I was nodding my head in complete agreement. Jeter Martinez getting the ball to start is my dream for this spring breakout. As soon as he got announced, I think before we knew rosters, that was who I wanted to get the ball on the mound. And if it's a 9 inning game, how many pitches they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe we see an inning out of all of them. I'm not sure exactly how it'll work. I would love to see Jeter Martinez go too. But given how the game is constructed, realistically, it's only 1 inning for most of these guys. If he's, pitching against the top of the lineup for the Padres, you're probably looking at Jackson Merrill, maybe not Merrill because he's going to be on his way to Korea for the Seoul Series.
True, because that's in a
Yeah.
couple days.
Mm-hmm. So Ethan Salas will definitely be on that lineup for the Padres. You're probably also looking at like DeVries, who's a shortstop. No longer Samuel Zavala, rest in peace. He is now a Chicago White Sox, but Dylan Head or Heed, not sure. Graham Pauley could be there. There's the names. The Padres don't have that far, like that far out of a prospects, like a farm system. Like they're a decent farm. It's just now a lot thinner after the Dylan Cease trade. But I'd like to see Jeter Martinez against the top.
I think it was very interesting that like Teddy McGraw wasn't on here. Obviously, Cole Phillips is hurt now, but he did not. He was not on this roster when it was released a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
And so, as for like the Mariners' top, like upper echelon of pitchers, I mean, Jeter Martinez. Obviously, I'm just excited to see him in general because we haven't really seen anything about him at all. So I'm just excited to see him in person and see what he looks like. I don't even like if you were to show me a bunch of dudes, I'd be like, I couldn't pick Jeter Martinez out of the lineup right
Oh,
now
okay.
because I just don't know what he looks like. I haven't seen enough about him. The rest of them, I could probably pick a lot of them out. Well, that's not true. Of the pitchers, no. I could pick out Walter Ford.
Mhm. Michael
Yep, and
Morales?
Michael Morales and Peyton Alford.
Okay.
Those are like the three that I could pick out. But I just want to go back here really quick. You said that there was a guy on the Padres whose last name was Head.
Or Heed, Head.
I don't think there's any better way to wrap up episode 69 of the Hit It Here podcast than to talk about what was his name, Dylan Head,
Yeah.
for the Mariners to face Head. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 69 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network and presented by Bet Online, the Joe and Colton episode of the Hit It Here podcast. And go Mariners.